evening, all and one. We would like to thank you all for joining it another session for Wednesdays for Water. I think some of you, most of you have already familiar with this network. We are a group of water enthusiasts, as we call, like to identify ourselves, who have initiated this weekly talk series. We have completed 1 year in April, and then like we have started Wednesday for Water 2.0. That what we are trying to call it. So, and along with these weekly talks, we are also having some other activities. And like if you have already registered in our mailing list, you will be getting details about our events. So today, and we always meet from this 5 to 6:30 kind of time. Sometimes 6:15 or like 60 to 90 minutes is our usual sessions. So today we have a very interesting topic: decentralized wastewater management, and we have a very distinguished panel with us. I say, like I think the panel probably needs no introduction to the audience here. People know about their work. So we have people from our panelists have diverse, come from diverse backgrounds. I mean, academic backgrounds, have been working on different, a variety of issues on this. So in the interest of time, we don't really read out the speaker introduction that I'll be sharing in the chat box here as our speaker starts speaking. So we have three speakers today. We have Professor Ajit Sheshadri, we have Dr. Meesha Tondon, and we have Dr. Neelam Rana. So we'll start with Professor Ajit Sheshadri, and then we'll go one by one. So the format is the speakers will speak for around 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. And if there are any pressing questions or clarificatory questions, the participants can also take it up with the speakers, if they are fine addressing those, or else we can hold our questions till the presentation gets over. So without much ado, I don't want to take time that has been allotted to our esteemed speakers. So I would like to invite Professor Ajit Sheshadri to start with his topic today. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. Okay. Before I start off, just on the basics, I just want to tell you about what is DWATS. See, DWATS full form as it stands is decentralized wastewater treatment system. Now, the word decentralized is very important to note. See, mostly we have in urban scenarios, we have centralized system and decentralized system. Centralized system is something which is supplied by the urban municipal bodies, and decentralized are the ones where these supplies are not there. Then the individuals, wherever they are living, wherever they have the habitat, they take care of the needs. For example, I can give you an example of water, drinking water. Per se, drinking water is given on the taps by the urban bodies. Now, these are called centralized. So when you get the centralized supply, it comes direct to your homes and to your all the places wherever you want. The water comes, and you don't have to worry about it. You just have to pay whatever are the charges for the water, and you get the water. And those places where you don't have this supply, you have the decentralized version. Decentralized version are you can say something like the versions which are done individually by the plot owners or the flat owners or the habitats. Wherever they are, they try to make do with bore wells. They try to make do with sump and tanker water, or some arrangement by which they get water to their homes. So this is called decentralized. So very similarly, we have wastewater. So what is wastewater? Let me give a small description on wastewater also. Wastewater is what you call the first use after the use of water, it becomes waste. So that is called as wastewater. Bibhu, you can go to the first slide. Okay. So whenever we have the usage of water, for example, if you have the usage of water, the water is used in the homes for various purposes. The most important uses is for potable use, for drinking, for cooking, and for washing. So that is called potable use. So now after the first use, it becomes wastewater. So that is the wastewater, one slot of wastewater. Then you have bathing arrangement, you have cleaning up arrangement, you have laundering arrangement. So we have that is called as the second lot of wastewater. Then you have toilets. So now we have concocted this usual method of flushing the toilets and also self-cleaning of various body parts in the while you do your toilets or this. So that is also toilet water. So that is called as sewage. And other than sewage, whatever is the wastewater which is coming out is called sewage. Now these two both together are treated as wastewater, and they are actually going to be processed, and when compliant are released into the common line. So as a matter of fact, it is every local body's responsibility to take up the wastewater and make it as compliant as possible in release to the body, whichever is the body where they want to release the water. The best would be to use the recycled water. Whatever water is being generated in the campus or in the site, best is to use it so there is no discharge to the.
Yeah, so it seems Ajit sir got disconnected. He said he has network issues. So, yeah. So, okay, so we'll wait for him to join back, or I'll give him a call maybe. So I'm not able to connect to Professor Sheshadri, so maybe he's uh, should we move to our next presentation and then Professor Sheshadri joins later? Dr. Meesha, do you think we should go ahead with your presentation? So, I mean, we planned in certain order.
My phone has anyway. Do I share my screen?
Yeah. Okay. Let me first
Enable.
stop sharing this. Yeah, I think then you'll be able to share.
Is my screen visible now?
Yes, yes, it is.
Hello everyone, I am Meesha Tondon. I'm going to talk about nature-based solutions from the perspective of wastewater treatment. As you all know, around 2.4 billion people live without proper sanitation and wastewater facilities. Freshwater, marine water, and coastal ecosystems are under extreme stress, and there's unsafe management of industrial and domestic pollution, which is polluting the water bodies. This is resulting into a lot of impacts on our water resources, and specifically for India, this is translating into a lot of issues related to water availability and water security. To top it all, there's this aspect of climate change, which is also making water less and less available to us. So nature-based solutions here present a way forward. What do we mean by nature-based solutions? So IUCN has defined nature-based solutions as actions which protect and sustainably manage and restore natural or modified ecosystems. So they work with the ecosystems. They use ecosystems to treat wastewater. Plants, soil, bacteria, and other natural elements are used. And the good part is that they're sustainable, they're low cost, and they have a low impact. And they also don't need highly trained staff to operate. And they can not only treat your wastewater, but they can also help manage your ecosystems and protect them. So these are some case studies that I'll talk about. First one is Absolute Water. They are agency working towards solutions which are nature-based, and they have done pretty well. They've also won recognition by some UN-related agencies. Basically, what they do is that they use vermiculture and inorganic media for the initial treatment, and then they get into organic advanced treatment, with which they're able to treat wastewater to the quality which you can use for secondary uses like watering plants and cooling and other things. But if you add a membrane filter to that, that water can even be used for drinking purposes. So now you all must have heard about Singapore using wastewater technologies so that they can treat water to drinking water standards, but these technologies are now very easily available in India also. So these are some images of the kind of plants that are there. The good thing about Absolute Water's inventions is that they've also developed a modular system. So it can be stacked vertically, and you don't need too much of space. Nature-based solutions generally need more space than your conventional STP would. But with this kind of innovation where you can stack your layers and use solar power to pump the water, the need for space is also reduced. So for a plant for 1,000 inhabitants, you'll only need 3 by 3, 3 by 3 meter of space. And you can look at the parameter reduction. BOD can go down from 300 to around 10 to 30. So that's a significant reduction. Then on-site, now this is the second case study where I'm talking about Swings project, which is a European Commission funded project, and they have implemented DWAS-based plants in India, and one of them is in Aligarh Muslim University. This example has been shared by Dr. Nadeem Khalil from AMU. So this is a bit about the project Swings, which is an Indo-European partnership, and a treatment system wherein a hybrid treatment system of vertical flow, horizontal flow. So basically, if you look from left to right, you have the wastewater entering, you have the anaerobic digester, then it goes into the vertical flow constructed wetlands, and then into horizontal flow. So there is a combination of vertical and horizontal wetlands that they've used. And then it goes into solar driven disinfection system. So some tertiary level treatment is also given. And towards the bottom right, you can see how the water quality improves from the time it enters to the time it exits. The water quality is also given here, the main parameters at the bottom of the slide. These are some images that you can see. The top one is for the vertical filters that they have. Then they also have these, yeah, these are the horizontal bed filters. This is the UV treatment plant where they are powering it using solar energy. And here you can see how the parameters reduce from the time of inlet to the time it exits. BOD, you can see how significantly it has reduced. Now, nature-based solutions are not only limited to the wastewater sector, they can be used for other sectors also. For example, Tarun Bharat Sangh is using nature-based solutions to rejuvenate local water bodies. Andhra Pradesh is using a zero budget natural farming system, which is completely based on natural products and nature-based solutions. Burhanpur and Indore are also conserving traditional water resources using nature-based solutions. And one example which we've heard from, I don't know how many years, is the Kolkata wetlands, which have been acting as a natural filter for the wastewater from Kolkata city. So let's look at quickly some of the advantages and disadvantages of nature-based systems. So they prevent pollution of drains and nalas. I mean, nalas that we see in our cities are actually streams. You know, they used to be streams at one point of time, and which was not too far off and not too long back in time, and we have converted them into nalas. So it's there's a lot of talk that you should stop calling them nalas and start addressing them as streams. Only then we'll realize what we've done to them. Then, nature-based solutions also require low O&M costs, and there's not much supervision needed. Even electricity is not needed if you're using solar power for pumping. And they do not need technically trained staff. There's also this aspect of co-benefits which is associated with NBS, which is that they not only improve your water quality, they're also recovering the nutrients for you, because these nutrients can be taken up by plants, and they also give you social benefits. Like, for example, your wastewater treatment is something which nobody would like to look at, but the conventional one. But if you have a nature-based solution, it'll look green. So it's not an eyesore really. And there's also massive energy reduction. So, some additional advantages that nature-based solutions offer is that they are solutions for wastewater and water management, but at the same time, they also help us achieve climate action and also help us work towards the SDGs. The SDGs that you can see here can be, directly or indirectly addressed through nature-based systems. So right now, most of our cities are trying to become this, which is a simple water supply city, because a lot of our cities still don't have water supply. Then they'll be going towards sewer city. Some of our cities have sewer systems, but a lot of them still don't have. Then drainage network will come in, then waterways will come in, water cycle city, wherein you close the water cycle, which means you focus on recycling, reuse of treated wastewater, and then you become a water sensitive city, and then you become a urban blue and green city. So we are just at the starting point of this cycle, and there's a long way that we have to go. And the way forward for nature-based solutions is that we have to demonstrate the cost benefit approach of nature-based solutions, because under conventional systems they're not really considered a first priority, because they require a lot of space. So when the space constraint is met with, because there are innovations like I talked about modular systems. So then you can look at decentralized pockets where these nature-based systems can work. They need not be a huge centralized system. They can be pockets of decentralized systems so that they can help reduce the load of the main system. There's also this policy framework under Amrit, which is encouraging development of sewer systems under in a lot of cities in India. But their approach generally is, especially in cities where you have nalas, is to tap those nalas and divert them to the sewage treatment plant. But I think it's time that from the policy perspective also, you can start laying some emphasis on how your nature-based solutions can come in, how your decentralized approaches can come in. Does all the wastewater have to be treated at one point, or can you also allocate some percentage of wastewater treatment to decentralized units? So this is some bit of thinking that it's high time should start coming in. We have to incentivize private participation, especially from the perspective of maybe a greener city which can improve the local microclimate conditions and also the real estate probably. They have to also start taking into account that initially public investments were required for a long time to drive this process. But I think now decentralized wastewater treatments and nature-based systems have reached a point where they've proven their worth. There are systems which have been running for, I don't know, more than a decade also. So I think it's high time that we start scaling them up, and also that we start addressing these aspects and incorporating them in the policy perspective, and in integrating them in the flagship scheme so that some funds can be actually allocated for these. And also, there are climate action plans. So these nature-based solutions can form a part of these kind of urban development risk management plans. And there's obviously a need to promote them at a much wider scale, like we're doing right now with the help of Wednesdays for Water. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Meesha. This is a wonderful presentation. You have not only discussed the nature-based solutions, but also some of the challenges, how that is being implemented, and also the way forward. So I think that puts us in a state where we can move to another interesting presentation by Dr. Neelam, who also talks about the policy issues and similar things. Over to Dr. Neelam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vibhu. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm Neelam. I recently finished my PhD from IIT Bombay, and I looked into the factors that have kind of led to failure of mainstreaming decentralized options in the policy making. That we do have decentralized options, but why they are not becoming a norm, or why they are not getting adopted at a larger scale in India. So my thesis was partly policy work, where I looked into the policies and their failure, and partly it was focused on the case studies, specific case studies. So today I'm gonna speak about two policy instruments that have kind of opened ways to adopt decentralized wastewater management systems at city level. So one being National Urban Sanitation Policy, which was released in 2008, and the second being the Environmental Impact Assessment Notification 2006. So I'll be speaking about these two policies and how their implementation actually led to adoption of decentralized technologies, but there are certain challenges. So I'll be talking about those challenges. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope it's visible to all.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Is it okay? Yeah. Yeah. So this is structure of my presentation. Well, I'll just give an overview of what is the status of municipal wastewater management in India and the discussion on implementation and the challenges of two policy instruments, one being NUSP and the other being environmental impact assessment notification. This is the status of wastewater management in India. At household level, only in urban India, only 12.2% defecate in open. About 32.7% are connected to sewer system, and 77.3% of urban households are still having septic tank facilities. As per latest CPCB report, uh, total sewerage treatment capacity, India was able to augment from 23,000 MLD in 2014 to 36,000 MLD in 2020-21. About 72% of the total sewage generated in urban center is released untreated, which is a huge amount. And that is the reason why our, urban bodies, urban water bodies are polluted. And according to the CPCB report, latest reports, 23% of the treatment capacity is meeting environmental standards, which is a very small percentage of treated waste, which is actually meeting environmental standards. The official discourse means the which is written in Central Pollution Control Board reports or other assessment reports. What they say is that the water body pollution is because of the deficiency in centralized infrastructure, lack of centralized infrastructure, because we don't have enough centralized systems. Such kind of policy analysis focuses on the technical and the implementation issue. They talk about the non-functionality of the assets or difficulty in O&M of the assets due to the erratic power supply and fund shortages. According to the HPES report, which is High Power Expert Committee report, networking cost alone cost you around 70% of the total investment that is needed to establish a full-fledged sewage system, which is a huge amount. And that's where the decentralized wastewater management system comes into picture. But networking cost is higher for smaller cities due to economies of scale. This type of technocratic policy analysis, which the CPCB and generally the authorities do, they generally focus on just the technical faults or the implementation issue, always blaming ULBs and always blaming the implementing agencies. However, they don't talk about the issue of issue of equity and financial sustainability issues. They also do not question the appropriateness of the centralized infrastructure. Until recently, in 10th 5-year plan, 11th 5-year plan, and the 12th 5-year plan, where they are talking about how mind-boggling investments that go into the centralized infrastructure system. And despite investing so much money in centralized infrastructure, lot of households and a lot of pockets in India still are not connected to the sewer system. Alternative technologies in India, which are more affordable and sustainable, started to emerge around 1990s. But somehow when I spoke with the government officers in Odisha Water Sewerage Board and in Bangalore Sewerage Water and Sewerage Board, they consider them alternative technologies, still consider them intermediate solution. They think that the decentralized solution are intermediate step. So once we get centralized system, we will abandon decentralized system. So they have that mentality. There are certain government efforts towards mainstreaming decentralized options. One being Government of India, along with the Ministry of Urban Affairs, they establish a center of excellence in decentralized wastewater management in IIT Madras. The latest CPHEEO manual 2013 have included certain decentralized options, nature-based solutions, essentially. And the National Urban Sanitation Policy, the first ever sanitation policy in concerning urban India, talks about the centralized infrastructure and how it is being unsustainable financially and as well as environmental perspective, and how it doesn't cater to almost all the population. And then we have EIA notification 2006. So I'll be talking about the last two policy instrument, NUSP and EIA notification, National Urban Sanitation Policy. This is the first ever policy concerning urban sanitation. Before that, India didn't have any national level policy. This particular policy does a very good thing, that it connects sanitation issue and with the public health and environmental hygiene. Unlike how CPHEEO views sanitation from the angle of engineering or hydraulic engineering, NUSP clearly states that the infrastructure development, the physical infrastructure development has to be connected to the public health outcomes. So this is the major connect that the NUSP makes. It also talks about that we have limited technology choices, which has led to mind-boggling investment in centralized infrastructure. By this, they meant that we have limited knowledge in alternative technologies. The NUSP proposed an alternative framework where they talk about that a city needs to adopt mix of technology options to ensure services to all. It should accommodate city context, their capacities, institutional, technical, and financial capacities. And the ultimate responsibility of sanitation is with the ULB. For this, they suggested to institutionalize this thing. They suggested, NUSP suggested a process of city sanitation plan development, which is a participatory and bottom-up process. And they wanted all the cities to have a city sanitation task force. So my study, when I studied city sanitation plans in about 20 cities all across India, the CSPs unfortunately opted for, or they selected centralized solution, irrespective. I studied their class, population, financial health, and sanitation status. So despite poor financial health, despite poor sanitation status, all the cities, small, big, medium, the three type of cities, they opted for centralized solutions. At implementation level, when I tried to find out that why it had happened, there was a lack of knowledge at ULB level. There was a capacity issue at the ULB level, and there were certain institutional rigidities. By institutional rigidities, what I mean is that at ULB level or at the state government, state board level, the centralized system has been institutionally ingrained in our mechanism, in our system, that when you try to introduce new technology or new alternative solution, you need to change a lot. There is a path dependency to centralized solution, and we do not have that kind of funds to change the entire institutional mechanism to accommodate these decentralized solutions. So this has to be, adoption of decentralized solutions has to be a step-by-step process, one thing at a time, to be able to scale up to a city level. I also found out that the CSP process was compromised. CSP was supposed to be developed by ULBs. It was supposed to be developed by in a participatory mode. But what I found out was there was absence of functioning city sanitation task force. The city sanitation task force were made, but only on the paper. There was no functioning as such CSTF. And also the state government failed to devolve powers to ULB so that they can take decisions to develop CSPs. Also, the third point was that when the consultant selection happened, ideally ULB should be involved in selecting the consultant in the process of developing CSPs. But all those decisions were taken either at the state level or at the ministry level. So what happened was that one consultant was given CSP development for multiple cities. So when I see all the CSPs, they felt like copy pasted documents, and there was no major link with the current status and the future planning of the city sanitation plans. One of the most important issue which I found was that how service level benchmarks, they acted as a pre-decided service target of 100% network coverage. The service level benchmark in India are connected to a performance grant. So this gives ULB a kind of or the implementing agency a kind of incentive that if you opt for 100% network coverage or the centralized networks, they get more funds, and that's why it is more appealing for the constituents. and hence the service level benchmark kind of acting as a hindrance in this particular scenario. So these are the top down push that happened at the top level, which are influencing the decisions of the technology choices at the city level. And the second case is about environmental impact assessment notification. I studied implementation of EIA in Bangalore city. Little bit about the EIA. It started with the process of major minor irrigation and dam projects in the late 1970s. The EIA notification 1994 is also known as principal notification. With that, India moved from the administrative requirement to statutory model of environmental clearance. That means it kind of became a legal structure to have environmental clearance. Environmental clearance became mandatory under Environmental Protection Act 1986 for many other activities and not just major minor irrigation and dam projects. In EIA 2006, the amendment 2006 extended the scope of environmental clearance to projects like buildings, construction, township projects, obligating polluters to manage their solid as well as wastewater. I studied implementation of EIA in Bangalore city. So I'm just giving a little bit context in what I have studied those cases. There was a rapid shift of Bangalore from becoming a city from town because of population and spatial growth. It experienced about 60% decadal growth rate as compared to 37.7 in the previous decade. This has happened because of establishment of public sector undertaking, academic institution, information technology, etc. The second reason for such kind of population and spatial growth was addition of 8 ULBs and 110 villages in the Bangalore urban agglomeration in 2007. All this led to increased demand for housing and public piped water supply and the need of wastewater services and need of connecting all these new houses with the centralized sewerage network system. And hence, because of all these reasons, EIA 2006 was enforced in the Bangalore region. The main reason was that to control pollution in the non-sewered areas, because these new additional areas, peripheral areas, 8 villages and 110 villages, 8 ULBs and 110 villages were non-sewered. So they wanted to control the pollution in those areas. They wanted to reduce fresh water demand for non-potable uses. And they wanted to ease some burden of Bangalore Water Sewerage Board and KSPCB, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. The EIA, which was implemented, that obligated commercial and residential and institutional properties to build decentralized wastewater management unit in both sewered and unsewered areas. The mechanism that they adopted was consent mechanism. So owner and occupier had to obtain a certificate of consent for establishment, consent for operations from different government agencies. The norms that were decided was a very stringent norm of BOD less than or equal to 10 milligram per liter and zero liquid discharge. And the property owner had to recycle 100% of their treated effluent inside the premises. They were not allowed to release the excess treated effluent. There was a provision of self-reporting through environmental auditing report, which is, I think, now is being scrapped. This entire system led to 6,000 standalone decentralized wastewater management units. This number are from, I think, 2016. In addition to government-owned and managed 14 centralized units. And I think this number is now grown to 17 centralized units. So Bangalore have a heterodox model of centralized plus decentralized units. This is the basic of the EIA that was implemented in Bangalore. I'm not going to go into the details of it. It actually talks about what are the build-up areas for which the EIA is necessary. So for what I did, I assessed ZLD compliance for about 22 decentralized units in the core area as well as in peripheral areas. What I did was that the ZLD compliance was assessed for various property types like tech parks, apartment complexes, commercial complexes, etc. It was assessed for property build-up area, average total water demand, connection to piped water supply from BWSSB, and the prices of alternative water sources such as private tanker water and borewell. I try to understand that when do the ZLD compliance happen, and these were the various variables that I chose. So this is the overall a snapshot of what I found. The technology choices. I found that the various technologies were adopted, but majority adopted high-end expensive electromechanized systems due to high requirement of BOD 10 milligram per liter and ZLD requirement. That because of all these stringent environmental discharge requirements, that made it difficult for smaller properties to manage the recurring expenditure. That led to smaller properties to switch off their system for some time so that they can save on electricity and other chemical needs. ZLD non-compliance was reported in majority of the cases, and this was most true for residential, hotels, and hospitals specifically because of the social acceptance reason and the industrial standard. In hotel and hospitals, they had to maintain some standards, and that's why they were not very keen on using the treated effluent system. Small properties, they were not complying with ZLD because there was a lack of enough demand for non-potable water. Also, the areas where there was a supply of BWSSB water, where there was enough supply of BWSSB water, the owners have no incentive to comply to the ZLD norm. The lower cost, even the lower cost of producing treated effluent as compared to the prices of the alternative water sources like private tanker water or BWSS water couldn't ensure ZLD compliance, as owner had access to more economical and readily available alternatives just such as borewell. When I studied this area, I found out that most of the owner were not keen on registering their borewells, and that's why they were very openly they were using groundwater and extracting the groundwater. ZLD compliance was most common in properties with multiple avenues of utilizing treated effluent, like big tech parks, high-rise residential buildings, commercial properties. These were the areas where I found that ZLD compliance was happening. The properties with high overall water consumption, and the properties which were in the area where there was either no water supply, public water supply, or limited water supply, and the areas where the groundwater extraction is well regulated and well enforced. There were certain institutional and governance challenges when I studied the EIA implementation. There were a lot of issues that the owners were facing. For example, they didn't want to spend so much money on the operations and maintenance of the decentralized wastewater management unit, but there was no scope of feedback mechanism between the users and authorities to influence any change in the EIA norms or in the EIA standards. Also at the KSPCB level, as we all know that when we have so many decentralized wastewater unit, you need to have so many organizational resources, financial resources. But at that point, KSPCB unfortunately didn't have required financial and organizational resources to conduct regular site inspections and effluent sampling, which led to compromised monitoring and evaluation. And obviously, many of the defaulters were not caught in the act. Also, there was a provision of monthly environmental statement, which was supposed to be submitted by the owners, but the authenticity of such kind of self-disclosed statements can be questioned. There was when I did the field work, there was a lot of talks about how KSPCB officials, they are involved in corruption. Similarly, owners are involved in corruption when it comes to environmental statements. And more importantly, such kind of self-disclosed reports, according to the CPCB thing, have no value as a legal or regulatory action. And in the sense that such kind of self-disclosed reports cannot be used in case of any legal action has to be taken or regulatory action has to be taken against a defaulter. The other thing is that KSPCB do not have the teeth in terms of punishing residential properties, because they are the ones who are the major defaulters in non-compliance with the ZLD. The maximum they can do to punish the residential properties is that to issue them a show cause notice and give them a fine. It's because according to the rule in Environmental Protection Act, the water and electricities are considered as basic rights, and no authority can cut off the supply of water and electricity as far as the residential properties are concerned. This particular tool, or this type of legal tool can be used only in case of industries. So KSPCB in this case has no real teeth per se. And also there was one more thing which I found was when somebody has to apply for consent of a mechanism, there were so many multiple institutions involved in processing the application that it was time consuming, and also it gives an opportunity or window for corruption. The last thing is regarding the institutional challenges is there is a conflict between BWSSB and KSPCB. KSPCB is a pollution regulator while BWSSB is a service provider. So according to KSPCB, I had a talk with the ex-chairman, and according to him, we need to alter the norms so that the residential properties, the smaller residential properties, can be kept out of this EIA norm. But BWSSB wanted most of the properties under this EIA regulation. They wanted all of the properties to establish decentralized wastewater management units. So that is a one conflict. Second thing, which was at that time, it was in lot of talks, and it was covered in a lot of media, in social, in networking websites, that the BWSSB chairman was hired in KSPCB board. It is because there was a conflict in the sense that KSPCB being a pollution regulator, and there were a lot of cases at that time. There were about 18 cases against the BWSSB for defaulting pollution norms in their centralized systems. And there were a lot of conflict between these two institutions, as how come a polluter can be part of the board of a pollution regulatory authority. So that was a conflict at that time. Overall, I could see that the peripheral regions got benefited from enforcement of EIA in the region. However, the EIA, which it advocates one-size-fits-all ZLD and stringent BRD norms, it disregards different user types and their needs and capacities. Similarly, high effluent standards, they push for energy and capital intensive technologies, making them non-viable option. And then there is no scope of nature-based solution, or the solutions which are probably much more affordable. I think by building bylaws on separating grey water through dual piping system is in new properties can help in reducing the decentralized wastewater management unit size and thus the investment. But as far as I understand that there was a recent addition of such kind of a requirement at Karnataka level, but there was opposition from the Resident Welfare Association in Karnataka, that they thought that if such kind of provision is made in the building bylaws, it will add financial burden on the residential properties. So there is a conflict in that between the authorities and the Resident Welfare Association. Also, we need to create a demand for the non-potable water through stricter groundwater regulation and restricting drink water supply only for the domestic purposes or only for the drinking water purposes. So for this, there could be option of installing meters, one for the non-potable water and other for the potable water. Concluding remarks. So there is a clear top-down push for centralization through either financial means or through frameworks like service level benchmark. ULBs, there is a lack of knowledge and capacities, and institutional rigidities make it more impossible to scale up decentralized solution at city level. However, there is a scope when we talk about smaller towns because they are still unplanned. They have open land available. They have limited institutional rigidities. There is no older centralized infrastructure to operate and maintain. They have less densities, and all these factors actually make them better option, better suited to adopt decentralized systems. And we also need to establish, if we go for decentralized systems, we need to have well-established monitoring and evaluation system for the environmental discharge. And we also need some kind of incentives to incentivize ULBs and to incentivize the residential properties and other properties to adopt such kind of decentralized models. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Meesha, for such a wonderful and insightful presentation on the policy. And I think things were much easier for someone like me to understand when you discuss that by using the Bangalore's case study. Thank you so much. This was very useful for everyone. I think like for all the participants here. We lost our first speaker, Professor Ajit Sheshadri ji. I think he's still struggling. He texted me that he's still struggling to join. So maybe we can open this to all the participants. If any of you have any questions, then if Professor Ajit join, then we can he can talk about that briefly, or else we'll continue with our discussion.
I have a question for Ms. Meesha Tondon. There was one figure she showed, I think per KLD, 0.8 square meter is required for the natural based system for treatment. 0.8 square meter per KLD, is it?
This is specific to that technology. The number I was showing was 3 by 3 meter. They need for 1000 KLD.
Oh, okay. That seems to be extremely insignificant. So I was just going through one STP here. Yesterday, I got one requirement for one of the Mahindra Group buildings. It was a 400 KLD STP using conventional aerobic technology, and they had proposed 340 square meter for an aerobic system, which I thought was a little high, but this nature-based system appears to be extremely low. Is that really possible?
I can cross-check the figures once, but the advantage here is that once you stack the units, the requirement on ground reduces significantly.
I think you will have to recheck. Typically, I think it was just.
Thank you.
Wish to say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Sir, are you understand Hindi?
Yes.
मैं एक्चुअली क्या है, मैं सीनियर गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर रह चुका हूँ, तो आई नो द बोथ साइड ऑफ द टेबल, लेफ्ट साइड और राइट साइड बोथ. आई नो द बोथ टेबल्स, बोथ साइड्स. और मेरा जो एक्सपर्टीज है, वैसे तो मेरा जो एक्सपर्टीज है वो सॉलिड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट पे है, लेकिन मेरे रिसर्च वर्क है वो वाटर मैनेजमेंट पे है. एक्चुअली आई हैड डेवलप्ड टेक्नोलॉजी जो कि आपको वाटर के प्रेशर एंड फ्लूइड को एक साथ रेगुलेट करती है, जो अभी तक पॉसिबल नहीं था. अभी अगर वैसे में पानी के प्रेशर को रेगुलेट करना है तो पीआरवी हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं, और फ्लो रेट को रेगुलेट करना होता है तो फ्लो कंट्रोल वाल्व इस्तेमाल करते हैं. तो मेरा मानना यह है कि जैसे वेस्ट वाटर को हम ट्रीटमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, सेंट्रलाइज और डिसेंट्रलाइज, तो मेरा मानना यह है कि हमें कोशिश ये करनी चाहिए कि वेस्ट वाटर कम से कम प्रोड्यूस हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मेरा कहना यह है कि जैसे आपके हाई राइज बिल्डिंग्स हैं या हमारी जो हिल एरिया बिल्डिंग्स हैं, उनमें जब पानी की सप्लाई होती है तो वहाँ पे पानी की जो अवेलेबिलिटी है वो इट इज मच मोर देन व्हाट वी रिक्वायर. तो मेरा जो सॉल्यूशन है वो ये प्रोवाइड करता है कि वो वहाँ पे पानी की अवेलेबिलिटी को रिड्यूस करेगा, जिससे कि अगर पहले पानी इस्तेमाल ही कम होगा तो वेस्ट वाटर भी कम प्रोड्यूस होगा. और जो एक्चुअली इट्स अ चेन रिएक्शन, तो अगर पानी कम इस्तेमाल हुआ तो वेस्ट वाटर भी कम प्रोड्यूस होगा, तो वहाँ पे आपकी जो कॉस्ट है हर तरह से कॉस्ट कम होती है, जो आपकी जो सप्लाई वाटर की है वो भी कॉस्ट कम होती है. अच्छा, दूसरा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जो हमारी सप्लाई चेन है, जो वाटर जैसे वाटर सप्लाई की चेन है, तो वाटर सप्लाई चेन में अभी एज ऑन डेट no solution is available for tail end problem. प्रॉब्लम मेरा कहना ये है कि जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल पानी को सप्लाई किया जा रहा है फ्रॉम ए पॉइंट टू बी, तो वहाँ जो आपका जो नियरेस्ट आउटलेट है जो ए पॉइंट के नजदीक है, वहाँ पानी सबसे ज्यादा होता है, और जैसे जैसे हम बी की तरफ बढ़ते हैं वैसे वैसे पानी की अवेलेबिलिटी कम होती है। तो उसके लिए भी सोल्यूशन नहीं है, लोग जो इस्तेमाल करते हैं दे यूज दैट हीट एंड ट्रायल मेथड्स ओनली। हम जो हमने टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप किया है उसमें हम इसके लिए प्रॉपर एक सोल्यूशन देंगे। और दूसरा, एक जो आपका जो वेस्ट वाटर ट्रीटमेंट है उसमें दो चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। पहला चीज तो ये है कि जो वेस्ट का कलेक्शन है, जहाँ पर मतलब सेडिमेंटेशन टैंक है, जहाँ पे हम जो हमारा जो वेस्ट का जो सस्पेंडेड पार्टिकुलेट मैटर को हम सेटल कराते हैं, वहाँ पे काम कंडीशन को अटेन करना इट्स वेरी वेरी नेसेसरी। और जितना जल्दी वहाँ पे काम कंडीशन को हम अचीव करेंगे, उतना ही जल्द हमारा जो लोड है, जो ट्रीटमेंट लोड हमारे लिए है, जो आगे बीओडी को प्रोड्यूस करना है, दैट विल गेट रिड्यूस, नंबर 2। और दूसरा, हम जो एरिएशन टैंक में जो हम आज की तारीख में जो ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई करते हैं, उस ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई के लिए जो आज हम एयर डिफ्यूजर इस्तेमाल करते हैं, उसके लिए वी आर यूजिंग द कंप्रेसर, एयर कंप्रेसर्स ओनली। तो एयर कंप्रेसर जब आपकी एयर उसमें पानी में जाती है सबस्ट्रेट में, तो दैट बबल, एयर बबल ट्रेवल एट ए वेरी फास्टर स्पीड। इसलिए जो जनरली क्या है, बबल अगर तेजी से ट्रेवल करेगा तो रेट ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ ऑक्सीजन विल बी वेरी लो। तो हम जो सजेस्ट कर रहे हैं ये है कि जो हमारे जो कंप्रेस्ड एयर की जो वो है एनर्जी है, उसको हम किल कर दें, तो आपका जो बबल है that will travel at a very slower speed and rate and transfer of the oxygen will be much higher.
We have one more question by Mansi.
Bibhuji, I have just come in. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can answer questions, no problem.
Yes, sir. We'll come to you. Thank you, sir. Like, we're happy that you could able to join back. Yes, Mansi, go ahead. We'll collect a couple of questions and then I think it will be easy for the speaker.
Thank you, Bibhu, and thank you all the speakers for the wonderful session. Sorry, मेरे पीछे बहुत बैकग्राउंड में आवाज आएगा because मैं फील्ड वर्क में हूँ. मुझे ये I have to really ask a question on the very essence of pollution itself. I mean, we are all talk about cleaning the water or cleaning the water bodies. Is a pollution literature talking about reducing pollution at source? I will stop here. If there is any talking when pollution experts talk about, do they talk about reduction of pollution at the source so that pollution generation is reduced? Then technology can be the next step. I will stop here. Bibhu, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, now the speakers.
I would like to take it from here. My name is Vijay Lakshmi. Thank you, Ajit ji, for inviting me for this wonderful talk. Two of my favorite speakers.
Wow. Wow.
Meesha and Neelam. I admire their
Hello,
work.
how are you? Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Good to see you. So good
to see you as well. And thank you. Wonderful talks by both of you. And actually, as the last speaker just now commented, pollution prevention is the answer for us, because most of the times, even the best of the technology, which the absolute water is doing, that is requires some kind of organic and biological treatment. So the worms are doing the work. So unless we go for prevention right in the beginning, no system is going to be making up for it. So best of the engineering solutions, they're now outdated. And we moved on using additional chemicals in our daily life, both in households and chemicals in industrial use. There are many of them are getting unnoticed even after the secondary treatment. And in Wokla recently, in one of the Horizon 2020 project, we checked the water incoming and outgoing, Wokla treatment plant and various other cities. The outgoing secondary, after the secondary treatment, still the pollutants are still existing. They're not meeting the standards. So I think we are chasing a run race, which is not going to be ever ending. My question to both the speakers is, did you find any opportunity for financing such solutions? See, the ultimate aim should be Amrit Mission and all, they are looking at large scale treatment systems, large scale, and their monetary finances cannot go to a small scale decentralized. If you go Actually, we went with Absolute Water to in Watertown to seek the funding from Amrit Mission. They said, unless the funding is this much, we will not be able to put in money. I think the issue is how do you finance certain decentralized systems at such a small scale, it's wonderful. I really believed in that Absolute Water technology. When they made the presentation, I have to still see how, I'm sure they're doing a good job. I think these are the kind of solutions we need, decentralized solutions, where financing and partnerships among the community. If you are a polluter, why we are not paying for it? Public-private community partnerships is the solution, I guess. I think that we need a complete ramp over of the way in which we are operating. Otherwise, the age-old policies won't lead us anywhere. So that's what we are looking at. And there is, to complicate the issues, we are now looking at emerging contaminants like endocrine disruptive. So we are not even monitoring, not even treating those. And so let's look at the system holistic way. I'm sure Ajit ji has done a lot of work. Maybe he can also throw some light on this.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, we can start with Ajit sir and then Dr. Meesha and then Dr. Neelam.
See, every water body, be it a river or a pond or a lake, it has inflows. At the inflow point, something like a deep ponding is done, and you have got a lot of places in which sludges are captured and also floaters are captured. It is only those which are remaining in sediments, they flow. So that also can be done in the next stage. So DVAX is applied as a deep ponding method in these places. So, and you have also a road lane nearby, so that once in 3 months, once in some regularity, JCBs come in and they take out all the sludge. And the main point what should be stressed is all the sludges, if it is coming from the municipal line, if it is coming from the urban habitats, not from industrial sector, from the habitats, they all can be used. They all can be co-composted. The human sludges can be used, co-composting, and this should be encouraged. And once you do this, then quite a lot of problem can be solved. Yes, please.
Yeah,
I'll add on. Ma'am, you're very right in saying that there's, which Dr. Neelam was also talking about. The system is tuned into the centralized wastewater treatment so badly that we need to, knock on their doors and get them to, introduce decentralized and nature-based solutions in the machinery. And that is why I was saying that there are more financing mechanisms related to Amrit, because Amrit, I think, is the one which is, targeting the maximum number of cities with wastewater treatment. And even if they start contributing 1%, making 1% mandatory, nature-based solutions or wastewater treatment in a decentralized manner, that will go a huge way in promoting this. So yes, definitely the need is there, and I think the way is also there. It's just that the government has to realize it. The other aspect when you're talking about pollution is definitely, I mean, everybody would agree with that we need to control the pollution. Polluter pay principle, I think, is working towards that. But in our country, as we all know, we need much stricter implementation and enforcement to get things done. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you. Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Neelam.
I think as far as I am aware, Amrut is in alternative space. It is more, it is funding more project in FSM, fecal sludge management, rather than, the decentralized wastewater.
Both. They are not doing decentralized. That's what, no?
Yeah,
it's a scheme for centralized waste.
Yeah.
They do centralized waste and FSM.
FSM, exactly. So that's what I'm
And
saying.
water supply also, but yeah, from
Yes.
our perspective.
So that's what I'm saying. In alternative space, they are more focused on FSM rather than focusing on the decentralized systems. So that is one thing. And the second thing which we are doing in IIT is in Kerala, in LP. I think all of you must be aware of LP model of solid waste management, and it's very well renowned project. There we recently worked with the CDD Bangalore, and we implemented a decentralized wastewater nature-based solution, DWAT system. And there we had to rely partly on the CSR funding and partly on the local government funding, ULB funding. And but we were facing a lot of problems in getting the funding from the central, any Amrut work or any other centrally public funding projects. So there is for smaller project, I think CSR funding could be one of the ways, but to sustain that, then you have to find out money, the finances are needed. So again, there are institutional rigidities that, and again, there are incentives for ULBs to have bigger and better, so-called better centralized systems. So that is one thing that we need to change. And LP kind of model can be act as a disruptor, where okay, you showcase that it is working at the city level, and then you showcase more models, such kind of models. But yeah, financing is totally, it's totally CSR based, it's totally donor based as far as the decentralized wastewater management is concerned. Amrut is mostly focusing on either centralized or FSM. FSM is coming in a big way again because there is international push towards FSM projects. So and those are applicable in mostly in smaller cities, because smaller cities are having high percentage of septic tank systems. So yeah, we are facing problems in implementing financing decentralized wastewater systems. And CSR, I think CSR is the way to go, maybe in the short term.
Thank you. I think Mansi had a question about the scale versus the efficiency, if that is how I think I can put that. So anybody, like, that literature is mostly talking about how to control waste and how to clean the waste instead of how to cap or reduce the waste. So anybody would like to answer? Any of our speakers or any experts here? Any of our participants would like to talk about that?
Yeah, okay. I will just take only a short time. See, the main.
Good evening, sir.
Good
to see you as a speaker. Good to see you as a speaker.
I started and suddenly something happened and there was a total deluge, as usual.
Ji, please continue.
Okay. Main problem is that these type of any intervention, whether going to be coming from centralized to decentralized, it needs a lot of passion and lot of intervention, right from the administrative line, political line, and also maybe also from the CSR line and many other lines. For example, it took nearly 7 odd years in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, and I will say hats off to that single lady, Shanta Sheila Nair. I think you must have heard of her name. She was the one who was specially chosen, and she did the complete rainwater harvesting machinery for Tamil Nadu. Then she was specially pulled up and brought to Delhi. And Delhi, she tried a lot in the last few years of hers. So we require, right, in the administrative staff colleges and many other colleges. Now, these type of training to be given, and also some practical training to the administrators, IAS, who are joining in. So that should come from the grassroots level and go upwards. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anyone would like to?
Yeah. So as far as the discourses are concerned in wastewater management, unfortunately, the official discourses mostly focus on reducing, the pollution. They don't talk about the source thing, the how do you control the way the pollution at the source itself. unfortunately that has been happening. That is the entire that is how it started. That is how the centralized wastewater management system was evolved in the beginning during the black ages in Europe during the cholera time, and that is how it was imported to India in Kolkata for the very first time, because the Britisher were concerned about the public health of their own troop. uh, and this has always been like this. Again, the question of institutional rigidity. We are so rigid, our system, our institutional mechanism is so rigid. We have laws around it, we have regulations around it, we have entire engineering curriculum around it, that it's very difficult to disrupt this entire thing, sequence of chain, the path dependency that we have in terms of money, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of institution is so huge that the transactional cost to change all of this will take a lot of time. So that's why it has to be a multi-pronged approach, where we have to focus on educational curriculum, where there is an interdisciplinary knowledge that is needed in managing the pollution. We need to link these wastewater systems with the public health outcomes, so that we can see with the visible improvement. We need to link these physical infrastructure with our environment health. We need to link this physical infrastructure, the centralized or decentralized, whatever it is, with the public health outcome. And that was the first thing. Actually, it was adopted in India during Bhore Committee, which was established in 1945 something. And that was first committee that viewed sanitation from the public health engineering perspective, that included engineering plus public health. But unfortunately, government of India couldn't adopt their ideology, because that time the focus was engineering. That time the focus was that we have to establish infrastructure, more infrastructure. The focus was on disposal rather than treatment. So that's why in the beginning we established a lot of sewer networks so that we can dispose. From disposal we came to disposal treatment. From treatment, now probably we are talking about the ecological systems, ecosystem. We are talking about much nuanced understanding of water cycle with the wastewater system. So these are the recent discourses where we talk about decrease in pollution at the source level, or we are also talking about what kind of detergent we use so that we can reduce these chemicals entry into the wastewater stream or the storm drain. These are happening, but these are the recent trends, and this will take a lot of time, specifically for country like India, developing country, where we are still struggling to connect people to the the proper, so-called proper sanitation system. It's going to take a lot of efforts. And I think in near future also the decentralized systems will be again a very pocketed interventions at the commercial level, commercial complex level, at the township level. But if you talk about at the city level, where the government is ready to adopt these decentralized solution at larger scale, I think that is going to take some time, because there is a lot of at stake when you talk about centralized wastewater treatment systems. Yeah.
So I'll just take 2 minutes to add to what Dr. Neelam was saying. Basically, as we would agree that we need both the approaches, the bottom-up approach as well as the top-up approach. So as Dr. Neelam was talking about changes in human, behavior of citizens, what kind of products we use and how that, addresses the pollution. So you need that level of awareness, but at the same time, I think there's also a lot of openness in this government to accept positive, suggestions that can help improve the scenario. So I was just thinking that maybe through Wednesdays for Water, if we could prepare a small suggestion note, which we can share with the ministry at various platforms, saying that, probably it's high time that you start giving some policy based focus to nature-based solutions and decentralized solutions, and start taking these up as part of the main scheme of things. So, this will help in trickling down that information to the local level. as I said, even if they make it mandatory for 1% of Amrit wastewater treatment to be done using decentralized wastewater technologies, that will make sure that every city, every small city especially, has one decentralized wastewater unit which the people can know of and which the people can learn from. So I think that can go far. And we can actually try and promote this to the ministry.
Okay, in this moment, I would like to give one small case study. I mean, I've been very happy that for nearly around 20 years, we have got one wastewater treatment system at a nala, drain, urban drain. We all have urban drains all over. Everywhere, most convenient way of dumping wastewater is put in a stormwater drain, and then the stormwater drain will take care of it. Now, in a very, very similar way, at a posh colony in Delhi, so in South Delhi, Vasant Vihar, I think Neelam ji and Meesha ji both have seen the plant. Now it started in 2002 at 20 KL flow, and then we raised it up to the maximum flow what can come from the nala. Went up to 80 KL. So 80 KL means it can water nearly around 15 acres of greens in that small posh colony, and they were very happy. Only problem what happened was downstream they were not getting any water. They were pulling out all the water. So like this, in case we have decentralized treatment systems, colony by to start with, and then slowly come down to individual levels, a lot of things can be done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I've seen this plant. It's been running for 15 years plus, I think, Hannah, sir?
20 years, 2002
20
I started.
years. So that proves the sustainability of the system.
Dr. Fauziya, would you like to add something?
No, I have been listening. First of all, thank you, Ajit sir, Neelam and Meesha for, I hope I'm audible, for this wonderful session. And there's no end, and there is a lot of debate around wastewater, centralized, decentralized, what would be effective. And for government, it is STP, STP, and more STPs. Huh? So when we thought we could clean Ganga, we built a lot of STPs. Then we thought we could clean Yamuna and more STPs. Then Yamuna phase 1, action plan 1, 2, 3. And then now in Namami Gange, again, we are adding more STPs. Huh? And as you rightly said, I think everybody pointed out, and in fact, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am is also there, that they somehow go for centralized. And despite, that a lot of these centralized STPs have not worked, either we didn't have the conveyance lines to take the sewage there, or we didn't have a plan for long-term sustainability, maintenance of the sewage treatment plant. So most of them have actually fallen flat. That said, I think the recent building bylaws, at least for the multi-story apartments, we do have that they should have decentralized wastewater treatment plant. In fact, in some of the housing societies, I do see that they have decentralized wastewater treatment plant. And at the same time, they are using the sludge for horticulture within the system itself and not really taking it out of the system. How long that's going to continue to be operational is again a question mark. It's just like the rainwater harvesting, building bylaws have a lot of things, but there is a question mark when it comes to them being functional units. Huh? So whosoever is responsible for ensuring its functionality also, they should also take care of that. Of course, nature-based solution is a good idea, but then we should also take care of what kind of sewage is coming out also is something that we need. The quality of the sewage that's coming out, that again has to be the space that is there. Gurujal has tried a lot of nature-based solution as well in Gurgaon, and I know some of them are working, some of them are not working. They are also conducting functionality tests for rainwater harvesting, but they have never done a functionality test for sewage treatment plant, which could again be taken up. So I can sort of give a lot of examples, but I really agree with Meesha on what she said on the advocacy part. I think, Meesha, we really need to probably, and one of the pillars of Wednesdays for Water that we talk about, and or rather W4W, now we have transcended from Wednesdays for Water for V for water, all of us for water. So one of it is advocacy, and I think we can definitely take this discussion separately also forward, where we come up with a policy brief. I would be at least happy to connect with some places. You know, I just got back from Chandigarh. I did a training program for a bunch of executive engineers in the Water Resources Department of Punjab. And I do some training programs in Bihar also. In Gurgaon, of course, I'm based in Delhi, but in Gurgaon also I work very extensively with the water planning department. So at least few districts where each one of us are connected. Bibhu is in Hyderabad, Mansi is in Ahmedabad. So, and likewise, all of you are in different places. So even if we are able to create a good policy brief, which we can take it to the district collectors, let me tell you, it is very difficult to actually, you go to the ministry, you can put it there, your paper will be placed somewhere and then maybe never looked back to. But if you go to the district collector, young district collector, IS officers who come and join, I have seen a lot of enthusiasm in them and some kind of at least a pro-environment attitude that is there. So probably we can at least start with a few districts and maybe use them as perhaps examples to then scale it up in other places. Thank you very much, and I think we are running out of time also. Many thanks to once again to Ajit sir, Neelam, Meesha, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am also for joining and for sharing her thoughts. Over to you, Bibhu.
Yeah, thank you. Before we close, like a few minutes left, Vijay Lakshmi ma'am, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I think very interesting discussion, and ultimately it is important that we influence the policy. Otherwise, these discussions remain at intellectual level. Maybe at some point you must bring in all the like-minded or not like-minded, the practitioners of decentralized wastewater treatment systems, understand their challenges, make one voice out of them. I know that there are good examples in house cars. Two youngsters started a startup and treated the entire Green Park area wastewater. I think those people need to come together and expand. How do we help them expand their work? Like there are enough of examples growing now. So make them into one voice and then help give them support. That's the kind of thing I would like to see, and I'll be happy to associate. I would like to see at least in few cities, especially in small towns, these decentralized systems are they're all time bombs, as one of my bosses used to say. Small towns are the time bombs. They don't have any treatment systems. So definitely we need to look at those.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bibhuji,
yes.
I just want to place on record. Padma Vasudevanji also has given her kind regards, and she would be also wanting to follow the happenings in this V for water.
Thank you.
She is actually like the Methuselah of decentralized wastewater treatment system. I hold her in a very, very high esteem, and she has been my mentor for more than 30 years or so. Thank you very much.
This is very encouraging, sir. Yes, so I think like it's time for us to close. I think the word wicked problem that we often use to describe some of these environmental challenges is probably not the appropriate one. I would like to request all the experts here to think of another word for this. Why I don't want to say the wicked problem is not something that fits to the wastewater, because this is something that it's not visible. Like when the water flows from my house becomes wastewater, I do not recognize that. I don't see it, so I contribute to that, and I don't see it till I go to a place where it gets stored and start only when it stinks, then only it gets my attention there. After my PhD in environmental economics, self-certified environmentally aware citizen, I never bothered about the wastewater till when I was working at Terry, and in one of these lunch break conversations, one friend who was working in CSE, he was talking about a survey that CSE conducted, where they asked people, where does the shit go, right? and then I started thinking about like, where does the seed from my house go? And I didn't really have an answer. Then I realized that, okay, probably this is true for everybody else. Like, I mean, where does the, like, I mean, water from my, like, I mean, the tap, after I use that, go? Where the water from the bathroom goes? We do not know about this. I think that's probably should be the starting point. That will probably create, once we start talking about it, then probably it is much easier to find solutions, or the existing solutions can be made acceptable to the local community or the government. I think that with this note, I would like to thank all our speakers for such an insightful session today, all the participants.